"Morning, honey," Jessica said to Brianna with a smile as she entered the room and saw the young fire controller sitting up in her bed. "Morning, Jessica," Arson said with a smile. "You got your memory back?" Jessica asked with a smile at being called by her name and not by the name of Brianna's sister. Arson nodded and smiled. "Yeah, I woke up a little bit ago and the fog just started clearing," she said. Jessica leapt onto the bed and hugged Arson tightly. "I'm so glad you're okay," she said. "Me too," Arson said in agreement. "Thanks for taking care of me," she said. "You remember all of what happened?" Jessica asked. Arson nodded. "It seems like a dream, but I remember everything," she said with tears forming in her eyes. "What's wrong?" Jessica asked her. "My sister Lindsay died when I was little. There was a drive-by shooting near the park where we used to play and a stray bullet hit her in the head and killed her," Arson explained with a wavering voice filled with sorrow. Jessica began to shed tears of her own as she listened to her friend. "I'm so sorry," she said. "It's okay, because you made me feel like I never lost my sister," Arson said as she hugged Jessica even tighter. The two heroes were now blubbering messes as they hugged each other on the bed. "I'll be your sister anytime you need me to," Jessica told her. "You'll always be like a sister to me, Jess," Arson said with a smile. Jessica nodded. "I feel the same way about you," she said, returning Arson's smile. As the sun rose outside, a new relationship thrived and blossomed within the walls of the Freedom Phalanx Reserve. "I'm gonna get that little bitch Elisa and her sister too," Fantasy said to Electrocute as they sat in Miranda's room. Samantha sighed. "Maybe you should just let it go," she said in an attempt to save her friend from more trouble. "No way, she can't ground us like we're her damn kids," Miranda said. Samantha shrugged. "It's her team, she can command it any way she wants," she said. "Whose side are you on anyway?" Miranda asked. Samantha sighed again. "Yours, I guess," she said. Miranda smiled. "And why is that?" she asked coyly. Samantha smiled and blushed. "Because you're my mistress," she said quietly. Miranda stood from her seat and went over to the bed where Samantha was laying and straddled her midsection and gently pinned her arms to the bed and started kissing her on the neck and nibbling her earlobe. "That's right, and you wouldn't want mistress to be cross with you, right?" she asked her submissive lover. "No, mistress, I only want to please you," Samantha said with a quivering voice from the love and attention she was receiving. "Good," Miranda said with a smile as she proceeded to tie Samantha's wrists to the bedposts and undress her. "I changed my mind, I don't want the team leader job," Elisa said to her sister with puffy eyes still red from crying. Hannah put her arm around her sister and pulled her close to her. "Don't quit just because of one bad day," she said. Elisa shook her head. "It's not just them, it's me. I can't keep fighting what I am anymore," she said with fresh tears brewing in her eyes. "What are you?" Hannah asked. Elisa stood up and dropped her pants, revealing the yellowed diaper sagging heavily between her legs, and put her thumb in her mouth. "I'm a Hupwes Whittle baby," she said. Hannah smiled at her sister and took her by the hand and led her to the nursery to take care of her diaper. Chapter 4. Behind Closed Doors, Elisa's Team Center. Hanako Masamura sat in her room in the middle of the floor with her legs crossed in a meditative position. The young hero had her eyes closed and was focusing on the plants sitting on her windowsill. The various flowers blossomed and wilted with the help of her powers. Several of them reseeded the small garden and sprouted new flowers with her help. "So very bored," she thought to herself as she opened her eyes and stood up. The 17-year-old hero known as Flower Child looked around her room for some form of entertainment. She picked up a magazine and flipped through it briefly before flopping down on her bed with a heavy sigh. As her mind began to wander, she thought about how she'd come to be involved with the Freedom Phalanx Reserve a little over a year ago. She remembered coming to America with her parents. She remembered the feelings of happiness that they all had for what they thought was a new lease on life. The journey to America turned out to be a disaster as they became slaves to the Tsu, an American cell of the Yakuza. Hanako remembered the months that her and her family toiled in a camp working for the Tsu until her father attempted to free himself and his family from the camp. She remembered watching her parents die at the hands of the Tsu guards. She remembered running and getting cornered by her attackers. After that, she only remembered waking up in the base she now called home with Ataris standing over her assuring her that everything would be okay. According to Ataris, she'd killed the Tsu that were attacking her and had escaped the camp. Hanako was confused at first at how a normal teenaged girl could kill half a dozen trained killers and escape a slavery camp. After many tests, Hanako learned that she was a mutant. Her powers had decided to appear in her moment of need and saved her life. Ataris took Hanako under his wing and helped her hone her powers. Though she was still a young woman, she was still a pinnacle member of the Freedom Phalanx Reserve. Through the many missions she'd been a part of, she'd proved her mettle as a hero to her leaders. Now that she was relegated to her room through no fault of her own, she was starting to wonder why her teammates couldn't be as dedicated to the team as she was. So very bored, she thought to herself again and closed her eyes to take a nap to pass the time. Elisa Knowles sucked on her thumb as her sister Hannah wiped her diaper area clean and sprinkled some powder on her and rubbed it in gently before pulling the new diaper up into place and taping it up snugly. As far as sisterly relationships went, Elisa and Hannah's had become quite an unconventional one indeed. At 17 and 29, the two sisters were too far apart in age to take part in normal sister activities like playing together and double dating. Hannah had taken to looking after her sister when she was little and had never really stopped. Now she was more like a mother to her than anything else. Elisa had begged her parents to allow her to go with her sister to the big city when Hannah had gotten her powers of radiation control from a few years' work in the core of the TerraVolta reactor. Though they didn't want their young daughter to leave home and possibly put herself in danger by following her sister to the city, they allowed her to and told Hannah to protect her from harm no matter what they did. After a few months of living in the city, Elisa began to crave attention and approval from her sister and took to wetting the bed. Hannah had held her crying sister many mornings as she shivered in her soaked pajamas. After that got her some attention, she moved on to having daytime accidents. Hannah became worried about her sister and had taken her to the doctor to try and find the problem. When the doctors found no cause for the accidents, Elisa broke down and confessed everything to her sister. At first Hannah was unsure about how to deal with the problem and pondered sending Elisa back to their parents, but then she saw her sister sucking her thumb one night while she slept and decided to give her sister what she desired most, love and attention unconditional. The first time Hannah had diapered her sister, they were both extremely nervous and nearly stopped before they had started, but they had pressed on and had reached a new level of bonding by doing so. Elisa's own powers of ice control emerged several months later, and she started joining her sister on her patrols and then coming home for a bottle of warm milk and a story before bed. Now, thanks to Malta, Elisa was completely incontinent. She had tried to push past her desires to be a baby and grow up, but now she had given into it completely and dropped her role as team leader for the younger and inexperienced heroes of the team and become the big baby that she knew she was. Hannah helped her sister off of the changing table and led her by the hand to the rocking chair in the middle of the large nursery that was Elisa's room. Hannah grabbed a bottle of milk from the fridge on the way and used her powers to heat it up and pulled her sister into her lap and pressed the bottle to her lips and rubbed her stomach gently and rocked the chair while she nursed the bottle. "Whatever you want to be, I'll support it," Hannah whispered to her sister as the young blue-haired hero's eyes began to droop as she drifted off to sleep. "Thank-o," Elisa mumbled from behind the nipple of the bottle. Hannah kissed her sister on the forehead. "Anytime, baby," she whispered as she continued rocking her sister to sleep.